Hola, ¿cómo están? Espero que estén muy bien. Mi nombre es Simonet y hoy yo tengo a alguien pero muy especial conmigo. Hoy yo tengo la oportunidad de hacer una entrevista con el señor Alric Reid. Buenos días y ¿cómo estás?
Buenos días, Simonet. Estoy excelente. Hoy estoy muy orgulloso porque tú estás haciendo un trabajo muy excelente para, para, para exponer a los estudiantes jamaicanos a la lengua española.
Ay, muchísimas gracias. And guys, you don't understand how much this means to me because Alaric es mi abuelo. And so, no, not my grandfather in that sense. Let me explain quickly. Let me explain quickly. Now, when we were in college, he was in third year, I was in first year. Now, it's customary for you to have a father and a mother, but I was blessed to have a father and a mother and a grandfather. So, I was in first year. My college father was in second year, and he was the father of my father. So he's my abuelo. Yes, so that means a lot. All right, so and also I cannot leave this interview without telling you how much you inspired me because I remember being a fresher, as they say, first year fresher, and I remember we had devotions. They would call it yeah, that at 11 o'clock. So I remember hearing you speaking Spanish when we have, and outside of that, because you were our super senior when we just started Spanish. So muchísimas gracias también. Thank you so much
De
for all
nada,
that
de
you
nada.
have been doing
My
and
pleasure.
your passion. People think I'm passionate about Spanish. They should have seen you, and still they'll hear a little bit about it during this interview. So I want to hear I want to hear from where it started. So let's start from the beginning. At what age were you first exposed to the language?
Well, um, informally, when
Right.
I was pretty young, just watching movies, right?
Okay.
And I would hear Spanish being spoken on the movies. But in those days, like for me, when I was trying to speak Spanish, it's just adding O to everything. So if it's
Yes.
dog, it's doggo, and if it's cat, it's cato, and that's my Spanish, right? So
And I
yeah,
find that a lot of people do that too. They think that once they add O to it for a male and A to it for a female, it becomes Spanish. But okay. But at what
that's
age?
it.
So that's informally. But at what age were you?
Yes,
Yeah. What age did you
formally
start
introduced.
formally? Yeah.
At age 11, that was when I just started high school. Age 11 was when I first really got exposed to the language, and it was pretty strange at the time. At the time, actually trying to learn something else apart from English, or of course our patois, which we speak, right? Yeah, so
Okay.
that was the age 11.
Okay, so when you started, I know I heard you say it was strange. Was it something that you were like, I want to learn this, or you were like, because I've heard both sides. So yes, I want to learn this, or why do we need to learn this? We speak patois and we speak English. Why do I need to learn Spanish? What was your first impression of the language?
It was the latter, of course. Why the hell do I need to learn this? Like, what is this strange thing being added to my list of subjects, right?
And so you
Yeah.
just okay. So was there what changed it for you? Was it a teacher? Was it what was your reason? What was the change? So first you decided, I don't want to learn how. Why should I learn this? Why are they adding something else to all the things that I already have to do? What changed it for you?
Well, my story is one of ups and downs and ups and downs. So when I just got introduced to the language in grade 7, of
Right.
course it was just the basics, right? Indefinite articles,
Yes.
things around the house, so on. So it was pretty easy. It was just recall, right? So
Right.
that was easy. So in grade 7, I liked Spanish, of course, because I was getting good grades and it was easy. By the time I got to grade 8 and 9, it got a bit more technical, right? So
Right.
at that point, I really hated Spanish. Like I just couldn't wait to get rid of it, right? I had a teacher in grade 8 and 9, the great Lyndon Brown from Cornwall College. and he spoke
Easy.
about four languages, right? So,
Right.
and I remember sitting in class and just saying, I wish one day I could be like this guy. You know, he would speak with someone in Spanish and then someone else in French and just code switch like that.
Right.
And to me, that was impossible. And I felt a bit hopeless. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm struggling right now with Spanish, and I'm just going to give it up. The thing was, in grade 9, you get to choose subjects, right? What subjects you want to speak. And I tried as hard as I could to drop Spanish. Like, I decided Spanish was not for me, and I'm going to cut it right now. Ironically, the subject I wanted to take was geography. And geography had a long list of books that I had to get. And the only reason I had to choose Spanish was because one of my cousins had an old Spanish book that I would be using in grade 10, and my mom couldn't afford the geography books. So I was stuck with Spanish. And that's how I actually did CXC Spanish.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. And I'm glad you did not get those geography books, because we might not have been here today. And your passion for the language is amazing. So, all right, so you did it in CSEC, and what next?
Well, there's a bit more of a story, right?
Okay.
So I'll share that. So now I'm being forced to do Spanish because of affordability, right? And in grade 10 and grade 11, I had the same gentleman I told you about that was really excellent, right? Did all he could. But you know, when you have a block towards something, like it's like a fan. So regardless of what's trying to come in, it's just gonna repel it, right?
Right.
And for me, for 2 whole years, I was just trying to survive. Just trying to survive.
Survival Spanish.
Yeah, I saw everyone else doing their thing, and I was like, how the hell are they getting all this? And I remember 2 weeks before CSEC, they gave, at that time, what was called study break.
Right.
And the Spanish book I had is called Español para la Vida, Volume 2, and that was my CSEC Spanish book. And it has this section in the back that has all the grammar, all the vocabulary, and all that. And I was pretty good at other subjects. So I decided during that 2-week period that they gave us to study, I was just going to swat the back of that book and do as much as I can with Spanish. And I tell you, it worked. I scraped through with a 2 in Spanish. And for everyone else, that was a big deal. But for me, I knew what happened. I just put in some extra work for 2 weeks, and that was it. And I passed. Now, here's the funny thing. I decided to go on to 6th form. And
Cornwall College still?
Cornwall College still.
Okay.
Yeah. I decided to go on to 6th form, and in 6th form, you have to choose a subject that you have passed in CSEC. So I decided long from grade 11, I'm going to drop Spanish now. I did what I needed to do. I need to drop Spanish now. Trying again to drop this subject. And I went down the list, and there was like, okay, let's see a list of the subjects that are available and the ones that you got in CSEC. And I take accounting, management of business, and then I started going down. None of the other subjects that I had done in CSEC and passed were there except Spanish.
Espanol. Yes, following you everywhere you go. Rightfully so.
I was like, what is this? And I ended up taking it, like, very reluctant taking it, because by this time, you know what happens when you swat something, right? It's in your short-term memory.
Right.
So over the course of that 2-month holiday, I lost all of that. It wasn't there, right? And so Spanish followed me again. And I remember when I sat in that class for the first class, A-level Spanish. Now this is where things get real. Because in A-level Spanish, everything is in Spanish. There's no English spoken in the class, right? And I remember sitting in that first class, and my teacher was there. She was introducing herself in Spanish, talking to all the other kids in Spanish. About 20 people started that group. And I remember vividly, I sat at the back.
Right.
Because I didn't want to be signaled out. And whenever the teacher would ask questions, my only answers would be sí, or no.
See or no.
Because I understood nothing she was saying. And I knew she knew I didn't know a lot, because obviously some of the C's or no, they had nothing to do with the questions she was asking.
So she realized something was not clicking.
Something's not right. So at the end of the class, I remember everybody, because everybody else was pretty conversant. They were okay having their conversations. At the end of the class, I remember I sat at the back of the class and I was just crying. And she came over to me and she said, "What's wrong?" And I told her, I said, "Listen, the only reason I'm in this class, miss, I'm going to be honest with you. The only reason I'm in this class is because it's the only subject left that I passed in CSEC, that I have access to do in A-levels. And I only swatted the back of that book to pass CSEC so that my mom would be proud of me. So I know nothing about what you're talking about." And she says, "I know. But you know what?" Yeah, she said, "I know. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. You can do it. And if you aim for the top of the house and you miss, you'll fall on the ground. But if you aim for the stars, you might just end up on the top of a tree." And that will never leave my mind.
And sometimes as teachers, we don't understand what we do, because if in that moment she had said, "Yeah, I know, you can drop it," then we would not have seen you. We're seeing so many things that happen along the way, and the guidance from your teachers and also you, because you could have sat there and not crying. Because crying to me in that moment would have been, I really want to do this now. Because if you didn't care, you'd be like this and just go through. They say you're going like Johnny Cake and come out like dumpling. But something in you, even if in the moment you didn't realize, it must have been something why you were crying. If it's even crying to come out, but you were crying for something. And I'm so happy that in that moment she said that. And sometimes we don't understand how whatever we say to our students or as parents or whoever we are, what you say sometimes stick. And so we want to say things that are going to uplift our children or students. Teachers play a very important role, and throughout the process, you would have been motivated by your high school teacher, Mr. What's his name?
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown, and then now your sixth form teacher, and so
that's Miss Brissett.
Miss Brissett. All right, so the bees. Mr. Brown,
the bees,
Miss Brissett, and so they play a very important role in the teaching learning process. And so as teachers, I want to take this moment to remind you that whatever you say, and it's not just teachers, because parents, we can remember a student, a classmate that would have said something to us that stuck with us. So just a moment to let you know, be careful what you're saying, because it could be a great story like this, or it could be something else. But yes, let's continue. So in that moment when she said, "Aim for the stars, and if you miss it, you might get on the treetop," and you probably in that moment you said, that I can actually do this. Tell us more.
Yeah. So when she said that, the truth is, it sounded motivational, and I will never forget it. But I remember in my mind, I was saying, I didn't believe it, to be honest, but I knew that she did. Based on the way she said it, the compassion she had, I knew that she believed it. And then I remember that my former teacher, Mr. Brown, spoke Spanish, and my teacher now was speaking Spanish, and they were Jamaicans, right? And I said, okay, so what would happen if I really just put my mind to this, try it, really like dig into it for these 2 years? And I remember she was so awesome. Like, she would give me extra work every evening. She would give me worksheets, and I would go home, practice, and she would mark my worksheet, which was different from what everybody else was getting. And she just invested a bit in me based on where I was to try to get me up to speed. And that to me was like the fuel that I needed, just to see that someone had that interest in me, was taking extra time out of her schedule. I wasn't paying her. I wasn't paid lessons, but she took that interest in me. And here is the part that I am most proud of, which is 20 people started that class. All of them were were pretty good in Spanish.
Right.
Very good in Spanish. And over the course of the 2 years, one by one, people started leaving that class. For some reason or another, they started dropping Spanish and picking something else up. And I remember it came down to only 2 of us left. After about 3 months, there were only 2 of us left.
Out of the 20.
Out of the 20. So now I'm being exposed because there was my other colleague who was excellent in Spanish. And me who was just trying to get by, right?
For that moment.
At that moment,
yeah.
Right. And so the universe kind of worked its own magic because now, instead of working with 20 students, my teacher only had 2. So I got even more attention, right?
Yeah.
And I couldn't hide anymore. I had to actually try speaking this language, try learning this language. And it got pretty good. On top of that, the universe aligned it also where at the end of my first year, I was still struggling a bit.
Right.
And at the beginning of the second year, it so happened that we had an exchange student program at Cornwall College.
Wow.
And in previous years, there were students from Denmark, Switzerland, and all these other countries. In this year, my final year for CAPE at the time.
Right.
Not CAPE, well, it was GCE Advanced at that time. Yeah, I'll tell you how old I am. And at the time, there were 2 exchange students in that year. And guess where they came from? One was from Spain and one from Bolivia.
So we know what was happening. 2 Spanish-speaking countries, and we know that they spoke Spanish. Look at everything lining up.
Just lining up. Just lining up. And I remember each student had to have a chaperone taking them around the school.
Look at that.
So now there were 2 A-level students
and 2
students. So they assigned each of us a student. It so happened that my other friend who was in the class had a lot of other stuff to do. So he didn't really attend to his person as much. So it ended that I was the one that had to take them all around. I had to introduce them, do all of that. So it ended up that I got a lot of opportunities to practice speaking Spanish. And that worked out pretty well for me. At the end of the 2 years, when the results came in, when we did our A-level exams and all that, it ended up that I got an A. And for the record, I think that was the first time someone at Cornwall College was getting an A in A-level Spanish. And and that was a big thing for me. And that was kind of like, woo!
Yes, I can do it if I put my mind to it. Because while you were speaking, I realized that 2 things. Because you could have said, I'm stopping, so you kept going. But also mindset. Because once you decide, this teacher believed in me, even if you didn't start believing in yourself, but this teacher believed in me, this teacher is putting effort, so that means she sees something in me. And then you started seeing it in yourself, and then the opportunity that you got, because I realized that for anybody who is trying to learn a second language, whatever language it is, it's very important to speak to the natives. And also in that moment, it doesn't feel well for some persons, because some persons look at it as, oh my God, they already know the language. So no, but I find in my experience that they don't judge you. They are excited that you're learning the language. So it's a great time you are learning the language, and things that you might not have done in CAPE, A-levels. Because when there's some things that you're not, you are going to tell them now that it's not in the syllabus. So it's unlike you're following a syllabus, but here you're in real life, bringing them around. You can't say, they say, oh, what is that? They're passing a river. You're like, one moment, let me check. No, you have to find out what is river, or you're going to find out, tell them this is this is that. So yeah, I love that for you. I loved that for you. I'm so happy that happened. So those were some of the things that happened. But I'm not I know you're not finished, because I saw you at the Sam Sharp Teachers College. So that means I know that after you would have left Cornwall College. Tell me, what's next?
Well, let's go back to Cornwall College a little bit more, because a lot happened at Cornwall College that kind of cemented Spanish for me. Now, remember at the end of CSEC.
Right.
I had swatted, and that was in the short-term memory. No, I had put in the work, and that ended up really being a part of me.
Right.
And there were a lot of things that made it very practical. So while at school, I played cricket, right? And I was captain of my cricket team for 3 years. And what I did to make it practical for me as well was that even on the cricket field, my team was being instructed in Spanish. So they understood basic commands and so on. So even while we were playing against other students and like other teams, I would give commands in Spanish. They wouldn't understand what was going on, right? And my players didn't speak Spanish, but they understood these commands that I had to give, right? So I tried to infuse Spanish in a lot of what I did, and that stuck for me. After school, I started working I did a couple of jobs at a restaurant, and then I got an opportunity to work at the airport.
Right.
And that's where my Spanish kind of just took off, because now it wasn't just like something that was learned and put to the side.
Yes.
Right. And I had the opportunity to work for an airline handling company called AJAS, which managed an airline called Copa Airlines, which does all Central American flights, right?
Yes.
So there I got to use Spanish a whole lot, making announcements, speaking to clients, and so on. And that really took off for me. Informally, I started helping other people with Spanish. Right. That's how I actually met my wife.
Your lovely wife, Ola, yes. She was in college, awesome. English man, that fantastic, yes.
Yeah, so that's also how I met my wife.
At the airport, I was working at the airport, but
I was working at the airport. Her sister worked at the airport, so she heard me speaking Spanish a lot. And because she needed help with Spanish, we were introduced at that time, right? And
look at Spanish doing those things for you, man. Yes. Right. Gracias a Dios. Yes.
Yeah, and so from there it blossomed. So Spanish has been like a constant in my life, where that was concerned. I left working at the airport, started working at e-services, doing call center jobs, right? And Spanish helped me there as well to move along the lines of getting up the ranks and promotions and so on. Because there were a lot of things that when they needed help with Spanish, I could do it, right?
I did that too. The call center. So that's where I learned a lot of my Spanish too, while I was at some shop, because when you're doing Spanish to teach or whatever, once you're doing it you're completing a syllabus.
Yeah, you're kind of confined.
Yes, because I remember at the call center, well, it's years now, so I can say it. But I remember like the first week, and they call, I won't call the company because I might want to work for them in the future, but the persons, I'd say, hola, like, because I had a script, I was calling them, because in the call center, we're using dial-up, but it was still, I'm calling them to sell them high-speed internet. So I would call them, I'm calling the people, these people, I just want you to know that they didn't call me, I called them to sell them internet. So I'll call them, hola, buenos días, mi nombre es Simonette, estoy llamando de parte de company para ofrecerle internet de alta velocidad, and I start trying to sell them internet. No, I knew that because that was on the script.
Right.
But whenever I say, okay, porque usted es un cliente valioso de nosotros, and all of that, and they say, I don't care internet, and they give me a reason why they don't want it. No, that was not on the script.
That's on the script.
And I don't know these words because I'm calling people from all over. Any Spanish-speaking country except the one in Africa, I would have spoken to somebody from there. So I'm trying to sell them internet. And maybe I spoke to people from Equatorial Guinea because these persons were in the United States, anywhere. And they have the different accents, the different reasons. For the first week, once I said, whatever, I don't understand, I just say, okay, muchísimas gracias, and go on. But what I did in that moment, if I hear So they said they don't want internet because they don't have a computer. No tengo computadora. I write it down in that moment and I say, what is that? I find it. So the next time somebody tells me, I have a
Yeah.
rebuttal for that. And then, but you find that you're hearing so just like in the airport, you might be hearing things. Oh, I'm calling, I lost my bag, or I did this or this. They're not so. It's not prescribed, not canned responses. So you are
Mm-hmm.
forced to get more vocabulary to find out, because I'm trying to sell you something, I'm calling you, and I can't, when you tell me something, I can't tell you why you should get the internet except what is
Yeah.
on the thing, that oh, it's high speed internet and it's good for your family and all of that, but I can't give you other reasons. So it definitely helped. The call center
Yes.
really helped me too, forcing me to learn more, and not only that, developed my listening skills, because you're
Mm-hmm.
hearing all different type of accents, and so you're forced to learn. So yes, 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 yes. All right. So you went to the call center, got your promotions. So guys, remember, Spanish can help you to get promotion. Spanish can help you to meet your wife or your husband, depending on what. But for those who are in school right now, Spanish can help you to get scholarships and all of that great stuff. So there are many reasons to learn Spanish. All right, so we're at the call center now.
Yes. Um, so my wife went to Sam Sharp Teachers College
Right.
before me, right?
Right.
And she finished Sam Sharp, and then she was like, at the end of her time at Sam Sharp, she was like, you know, they're coming up with this program at Sam Sharp where they're offering a scholarship to train teachers
Right.
to to um
Teach it
to
at
go
the
into the
primary level.
classrooms, right, and primary Spanish. I'm like, whoa, that's something that I'd probably be interested in, right? And I signed up for it and so on. And when I got to the college, I was like, yeah, I think this is something that I really
Yes.
would like to do. But the good thing about that is that the it opened me up to a lot of other things, right?
Right.
Which to me was invaluable. I met really great people.
Yes.
I got to hone my leadership skills and so
Yes.
on, and I also got to learn a lot more about myself, which was important. And it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't know Spanish or wasn't interested in Spanish,
Right.
right? Because then I got really free education, right? And you can't beat free.
Yo también. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And a great experience. And also, this might be a little biased, but I think all the persons who did Spanish, all of the groups were small.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how many. I think we had 14. How many did you have in your year?
Oh, our year was pretty small. One, two, three, four, five, six. I think seven of us.
Right. And so it's a
Yeah.
small group, and you create like it's a family, and we
Yes.
all, yeah, so that was great. I love that about the program too. And we have, I don't want to say we had, because it sounds like we can't reach out to them, and we can still reach out to them. We have some of the
Yes.
best lecturers too. So
Yes.
for the language. All right, so all right, so we know you got promotions because you spoke Spanish. You got free education, as you said, that you can beat free, and you got an opportunity to develop your skills. But what were some other opportunities that you got because you spoke the language? For me, I got to travel to another country because that was a part of completing. Well, that's after we did the degree. But what were some of the opportunities, other opportunities that you would have gotten because of Spanish?
See, there are so many doors that
Yeah.
this language will open for whoever is watching this
Right.
interview. For me personally, while I was in high school, while I was doing my A levels,
Right.
this is when I knew that this was really something. While I was still in high school, 17, 18, doing A levels,
Right.
right? I had the opportunity to become a liaison officer for the Jamaican government at the G15 summit. This is summit of world
Yes.
leaders coming to Jamaica. And I was chosen because of my ability to speak Spanish.
Yes.
And there was an incident, there was an incident that happened at that conference, which kind of blew my mind. And I'll share it with you. So
yes, please.
I was the only person as a liaison officer that was fluent in Spanish. There were others who knew a bit and pieces
Right.
of Spanish. So because of my friends who I told you about, who were on their exchange student program, right? I got to practice my Spanish a lot more. I got a lot more confident in Spanish.
Right.
So I consider myself fluent at the time. Of course, I was making a lot of mistakes, but it's all about expressing yourself, speaking, being understood. It's not about perfection, right? And so here I was at the airport, and I think it was a 4-day or 5-day summit being held in Jamaica. Leaders from all over the world coming in, and I remember everything was going to script. You know, it was in the script that I was greeting and all these things. Until on the last day of the summit, when people were leaving, it was a big incident. The security team for one of the, I won't call the country, but a South American country, there were bullets from their security detail that were missing, and there was no incident to account for it. Right. So customs held on to him, and they needed to interview him. This guy spoke only Spanish. Right. So who did they send for? Little 17, 18-year-old Alric.
Yes. Yes. Because you wouldn't have heard about that otherwise.
I remember being put in a room with this high official. He was the head of the security for the president of that country. And I had to interview him. They told me the questions that I had to ask him. I had to get the answers from him and then translate back. I'm like, whoa.
And the trust that they have to put in you, that whatever he's saying, you're saying, and
I'm saying it back, right? Yes. And that's when I really understood the power of learning and knowing a second language. Because not being boastful, but I did handle myself well in that interview. And at the end of that, like, everyone in the airport now knew me, right? I didn't start working at the airport as yet, but everyone in the airport knew me. And so when I went for that interview with that company, it was easy. Yes. Right? Because they already knew me. They were like, oh yeah, this is a guy from... Yes. So I got that job pretty easily, right? So that was opportunity number one. The second thing that did for me, well, I guess it rose into my job as well. But because of my ability to speak Spanish, I moved through the ranks quickly at the airport as well. I was given a supervisory role on that airline. Right. And that also gave me access to a lot more people to speak Spanish with. So it's kind of like a snowball rolling down the hill, right? As you get more and more into it, more and more opportunities get open for you.
I love that. And you know, when you were speaking about that, I got the opportunity to be a liaison officer too, but not so exciting to be interviewing people. But yes, it was a great experience, and I've said it before. But there's some rooms that I've been in already that I would not have been in. I don't want to say never, but yet. Yeah. Because of Spanish, you are the person, the liaison officer for this person from that country. You are responsible, and so there's so many opportunities. And I think that sometimes when people hear you say, they say, no, but they don't. There's so many opportunities that you're going to get, and you will go to one conference as a liaison officer, and you're going to meet persons from all over the world. And all over Jamaica too, persons that you would not have seen otherwise, or yet. Because I like to speak about the power of yet. But guys, there's so many opportunities that you can get when you speak Spanish. And have you been hearing the word promotion throughout this? Promotion.
A lot of promotion. Yes. And also, I forgot to mention, also I have been, because of that, liaison officer for the JFF, the Jamaica Football Federation
you love football.
I love football, so that was like right down my alley, right?
And so for the males and females here who love football, that's also another opportunity, because we're not saying you have to go to a conference, or there's so many opportunities everywhere you can think of. They need somebody to speak Spanish, because we want to communicate, because we're now a global. It's because of globalization, this world is so small, as you can see, because we are seeing everybody. We're able to communicate instantly. All right. right. So those are some of the opportunities. But what were some of the challenges that you would have had and how you overcame them? So you just so somebody might be thinking now, yes, he's talking about all the great times, but what about the challenges?
It was tough. It was tough. I've spoken about the challenge of trying to drop Spanish and it
Right.
following me. So that was a challenge. Another challenge was trying to find people with that common interest of Spanish
Right.
to speak with. That wasn't always available. Another challenge was a lot of people in my community saw me as being crazy because this young man would be walking and I'd be singing Spanish songs, talking to myself in Spanish. My own family sometimes looked at me a little weird because I'd wake up in the morning and I'd look in the mirror and I'd be practicing my Spanish phrases. I'd be listening to music in Spanish. And like, that was a bit challenging, just to stand out and be a little different
Right.
from others, which is not something that I am afraid to do. But they're the
Yes.
eyes, right? Another thing that was challenging was actually speaking the language, right?
Okay.
Because what I find is that having the knowledge in your head and getting it out through the mouth are two totally different things. And I remember my A-level teacher, Miss Brissett, saying to me, I think about 2 months in, that listen, you're kind of slowing yourself down
Right.
if you translate everything back from English to Spanish and Spanish to English. She said, and this was like a big woo for me. She said,
Yes.
thinking Spanish.
Yes.
Thinking Spanish. How do you do that?
Yes.
She's like, just think in Spanish. Like if you see a cat, instead of saying cat, what's cat in
Yes.
in Spanish and saying cat is gato and then doing it backwards. She said,
Right.
just see the cat and just think gato.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, let me try this. And that was so difficult at first, but afterwards it became
Practice.
second nature, right? And I'm like, whoa. Then I started even having dreams in Spanish. I'm like, what is this?
The first time that happens though, you're like, wait, what's happening to me? But over a period of time, yes. So
Yes.
that takes
So those
me
are the challenges.
that takes me into, you mentioned some of the things, but some tips now. So you were listening to Spanish, you were speaking, and you said something very important. Sometimes we have it great in our brains, and then the mouth is just not cooperating, and you're wondering, wait, that's not what I had in my head, that is coming out of my mouth. So I heard you mention looking in the mirror, listening to music, and getting an opportunity to speak to other persons. So tell us a little more of some of the things that you would recommend for somebody who is learning Spanish or wants to learn Spanish.
So first thing I would say is be patient with yourself. You're learning a new language, which does require some time and practice, right? Now, trust me, it doesn't have to take a whole lot of time for you to get this and understand it, but there's a pattern to everything. And if you learn the pattern, then it becomes a lot easy. Try to immerse yourself as much as possible in Spanish. The easiest way to learn any language is to go to that country and just immerse yourself, right?
Right.
But not being able to do that, there are other ways. Right now, the internet makes everything possible. You can listen to news in Spanish, even if you're not understanding anything they're saying. It's just attuning your ears to the
Right.
sounds. Listen to music in Spanish. Try to write music or write poems in Spanish. Don't try to be perfect.
Right.
It's not about perfection. It's just about expressing yourself. The main aim of language is to understand and be understood.
Right.
And as you said in the beginning, you might think that people who speak Spanish,
Right.
either natives or non-natives, are going to be upset with you trying to speak Spanish. No.
It's the opposite.
They are so proud that you're trying to speak Spanish. As a matter of fact, I remember when I just started like getting into Spanish and liking Spanish, and I was trying to get out there and just speaking. My vocabulary wasn't wide,
Right.
but just by saying hola to somebody, they think you already fluent and they just start going on. So people are happy to support you in your journey. Just start the conversation.
Yes. Yes.
And then what I try to do is, for everything that I know how to say in English in my day-to-day life, I tried to now translate that into Spanish and try to use that while I'm speaking to myself, right? So whatever commands I'd give myself, whenever I'm talking to myself in my head, I try speaking in Spanish. And then if there's a word or phrase that I don't know, I'm like, oh, that's something I need to learn. Yes. And I go back to the dictionary, find that, and then that's now a part of which is what you did in the call center, right?
Right.
Now that helps a whole lot. And that really, really like propelled me along the way. Now, here's an expert tip, which is what I did with my son.
Estamos escuchando.
So when my son was born, what I did was I only spoke to him in Spanish.
Sí.
So for anyone who speaks Spanish, I think this is a great project that you can take on so that your children don't have to go through all this that you're going through. If you speak Spanish and you have a child, speak to them in Spanish. Children are wired for languages. They can learn many languages. And my son and my daughter, when my daughter was born, I did that to them as well. And they understood everything in Spanish. And that made it a lot easier for them. Now they're learning French, right? And Spanish has also opened the door for me to learn French. And I'm teaching myself French, which is, and I find it a lot easier because now I know all these things as well, right? So the main takeaway is practice. Practice. If you, it doesn't matter if you're perfect or not. It's just practice. Because even as English speakers, we make a lot of mistakes as well.
I say that all the time. We're gonna make mistakes. Or somebody said to me recently, Miss, me don't bite my tongue. Me said, if you bite your tongue when you're eating, do you stop? No. And for those who don't speak Jamaican Creole, if you are eating and for whatever reason you bite your tongue, are you gonna stop and say, I'm never eating again because I bit my tongue? No, you're going to probably take a second, but you are going to continue. And it's the same thing with the language. So keep going, keep practicing, as you said. And the mindset is also important. Because if you tell yourself that you cannot do it, I could tell you, Alric could tell you, we could find every other Spanish speaker that we know, and they tell you the only person that can stop you from doing anything you want to do is you. So you have to first know that, yes, you can do it. And then you take the advice. So you want to listen to music, you want to practice, you want to speak to natives, you want to practice writing and recording yourself too, because sometimes you think when you hear it back you're saying, okay, I could work on this, and you keep going, but don't stop, because once you stop, then that's when you would have failed. But if you keep going, then you are doing a wonderful job. So I want to hear now, what would you, first we have to hear some more Spanish from you, so you can tell us some things in Spanish, but I also want to hear if what would you say to those who are saying, okay, I would love to learn the language, but I want to hear it in Spanish. So I want to hear some Spanish from you. So give us some advice in Spanish, guys, so you can also use this as a listening exercise, and you can, in the comment section, you can tell us what you heard in Spanish.
Okay, vale. Aprender español no es difícil.
Okay.
Es como 80% práctica y 20% la mente.
Okay.
Si alguien quiere aprender español, es importante que primero buscar a alguien que ya habla español.
Sí.
Como usted, ¿no?
Sí.
Simonet es perfecto para enseñarles la lengua española, porque ella ha aprendido la lengua como todo el mundo. Ella no nació hablando español. Sí. Pero ahora mira, ella habla español. Sí. Yo también, yo no nací hablando español, pero ahora hablo español.
Sí.
Y si tienes la mentalidad de aprender y la paciencia para practicar, vas a lograr la excelencia.
Sí, y la única persona que puede detenerte eres tú. Entonces, sí. Pues Muchísimas gracias. Before you go though, if there's anything else you want to say to them, that's because your journey, I find your journey very, very well. I didn't know I didn't know that because when I saw you at Something Sharp, I didn't know that you wanted to throw away Spanish from 10th
Many
grade,
times.
and then you tried again and were at A levels and all of that. But I must say that, and also for those who speak Spanish, use the language too, because I saw you using the language. We heard it we heard it at devotions, we heard it at graduation, we heard it at every celebration. And so for those who are interested, they're saying, wait, how can I learn that language? So the passion. But I learned so much today too, and so muchísimas gracias, and we want to leave telling people there are opportunities. There are many opportunities when you speak the language, and anybody can learn a second language. In this case, we're speaking about Spanish, but anybody can learn a second language. Pues fue un placer. Muchísimas gracias y tenga un buen día.
Gracias por haberme invitado. El placer fue mío.
Sí.
Y otra vez estoy muy orgulloso de tu trabajo.
Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias.